Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Investor Fuel Show. Really excited to have you here. And I'm super excited to have my buddy Justice with us today. He's a young guy, 23 years old, and wise beyond his years. When I was 23, I was not this wise. I was, who knows what I was doing at that point, but I definitely had different priorities than my buddy Justice. And I always have a soft spot in my heart for young people that come in this business because there's so much opportunity to achieve financial freedom. And of all the literally over 1,500 people that I've interviewed on different podcasts over the past 9 years, the single biggest thing I hear from people is I wish I had started earlier. I think most of us wish we had started when we were 21, 22, like Justice did. So it's going to be an exciting show. We're going to talk about like his kind of seasons of how he's gone through in his life. There's a lot of wisdom there for a young guy and his vision for the future. So I think you're going to enjoy today's show. Let's jump in. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Hey, Justice, welcome to the show, buddy.
What's up, man? Dude, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, excited to have you here.
Huh?
What's that?
I said 1,500 podcasts.
Yeah, well, as we're recording this right now, it'll come out a little bit after Christmas. We're recording this right before Christmas. We started, it's actually this week is the 9-year anniversary of the Flip Nerd podcast, which is still going on. And then Dylan Tanaka is the host of that now. And I've been focused on the Investor Fuel podcast, but yeah, 1,500 podcasts over the last 9 years. And it all started, 9 years ago, pretty much just like this. So there's not a lot of high tech involved. I mean, some folks have recording studios and all that. We do it with a webcam. And like at the end of the day, I just want to have conversations with amazing people and not get hung up on the technology. So glad you're here, my friend.
Yeah, dude. I heard that so often. That's one of the reasons I was actually thinking about starting one is because like the amount of quality conversations you can have with people that are ahead of you. And I know, we're having this conversation now because I'm a part of Investor Fuel, but even just being able to interview people who are ahead of you and have that conversation and just, hey, I have a podcast. You want to come on versus, can I pick your brain for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, I had a lot of I'd flipped hundreds of houses before I started the podcast, but for me, it was, I guess I won't say that I realized this up front, but very quickly I realized that it's an amazing way to network and build relationships with people. And there's so many things that have come out of that, including Investor Fuel. It was just like I started to build all these amazing relationships with people. And I was like, how do I hang out with people that have become my friends even more? And that was really one of the reasons that Investor Fuel was born is like, I have this amazing network and they don't all know each other. Like, let's pull each other together and share ideas and stuff like that. So, and probably never would have even met you, my friend, if I hadn't started the podcast. Who knows?
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, time to start a podcast.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background. You're a young guy, so you don't have a huge, huge background, but just tell us about how you got started in real estate and maybe a little bit as to how you even thought about that at such a young age.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, especially in high school, like I think back, I always wanted, like I had a vision that I wanted to be some sort of executive or something. I know it kind of sounds dumb, but like I used to walk to school and I went to a school that was probably about a mile up the road. And my parents, they would work at the other side of town and I didn't have the ability to get a ride. So I'd take the bus and like walking to and from the bus, like sometimes I would dress up and like I'd be on the phone and like pretend to make phone calls like an executive. It's the dumbest thing ever. Like it's so silly. But I always kind of knew that I wanted to be something like that. I thought I was going to get into corporate or, I didn't know. I knew I wanted to do something like that, but like everybody, we don't know like specifically how it's going to pan out. Yeah. And so in high school, I didn't really have a specific career path that I knew I wanted to go down in college. And so I took a gap year. And during that gap year, I ended up playing funny enough, another like crazy stupid thing, but I was playing video games. I was always very competitive, and I wasn't very sporty until like my later years when I got into the gym and started doing MMA and that sort of stuff. But I got into competitive gaming, took that competitive spirit after some like life stuff shifted, and I was like, okay, well now I want to like make my life better. How do I just like get competitive? I had listened to Rich Dad Poor Dad while I was cleaning pools. I was like, I got to get into real estate based on this book. And so I joined a meetup. I bought like a course with some money that I saved up, put my money towards flipping land. That didn't work out. After that, I joined and worked for a company for like 8 months. After that, I went off, started my own thing, and I've been doing my own thing for about 2 years coming up now. Yeah. 2 years coming up now in January.
That's awesome. And we're going to talk about your transition to building a real business here. And you've come a long way, my friend. So it's such an amazing thing. You know what else is cool is coincidentally, we were just talking about this before we started recording. I hired Robert Kiyosaki to come speak at the next Investor Fuel, which is 5 weeks from now into January. And so for folks that are joining, they'll be able to get access to that, as well as obviously a couple hundred amazing members of the group. But I've heard that's like one of the things that's going to been a common theme across 9 years of podcasting. It's not like everybody said it, but it's very, very common that people will say, this was going on, and then I read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Like that's got to be the most like common phrase that I've heard, or something like that it changed their life of thinking like about, building a business that pays you. And ultimately everybody wants to be in that I box, which is I'm an investor, my money makes money for me and I don't have to do anything anymore, which, you're young enough to where you're going to get there for sure. And I'm old enough to know that, I got to get there as fast as I can. So, so let's talk about like the kind of early days for you. That's what I want to talk about, is kind of like the early stages for you of doing everything and kind of the hustle side. And then again, you're so young, you realize this at a really young age of realizing that I could hustle and make a lot of money, but my goal isn't to hustle. It's to build a real business with systems and processes and stuff. So let's kind of start with the hustle days, the early days. Not that you're not still working hard even now, but you've changed a lot since then. So talk about the early days.
The hustle days. Oh man. So really quick before I get into all that craziness, the thing about Robert Kiyosaki in that book and just the amount of people it's impacted, it's interesting you say that. It just made me think like, if that book had come into my life at any other period of time, like there was plenty of other books that came to me before, I was in like this malleable mental state. And it's just funny that that's the first time I thought about it that way, that it's always, this was going on in my life. And then I read the book. So you have to be like ready for the information. And when the information is there and you're ready for it, that's when like you can make the switch and have the decision. So it encourages me to like keep putting the information in front of the people that I care about, because they might not be ready for it now, but maybe down the line, something in their life changes and they're ready for the same thing.
Yeah. There's this quote about when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah,
or something like that, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
right.
That's awesome.
So, that was just sad. But hustle days. So like when I was first getting started, I went off on my own. I kind of had a little bit of experience closing deals, but I wasn't great. And so I worked for a small company that didn't really have like the systems and processes and the training that I know I need to have now in order for people on my team to be successful. And so I made the same mistake with my first salesperson too. Even though I went through it, it's kind of like a part of it, because like you're working so much that you have to get somebody to come in and like they are trying to figure it out and you're trying to figure it out. And you're like, what the heck do I do, with this system and that so that was a learning experience, but I didn't really succeed when I was closing deals for that other company. Like I closed one deal that didn't close in 8 months. So I made like $500, and it was like a pity $500. It was like, we see you working, so here's $500 because I didn't actually make money. So I took kind of that skill set and knowledge, and it was a lot of, I guess, I don't want to say that I was putting it on them when I was working for them, but when I stopped working for them, it became 100% my responsibility to be successful.
Yeah.
And so I think that really was a switch for me. Is like, okay, I'm on my own. If I succeed, it's because of me. If I fail, it's because of me. And so I started going out and I started driving for dollars, and I pulled a list of pre-foreclosures, and I would door knock the pre-foreclosures while driving for dollars. And I got like 3 deals in a month, just like 6 days a week. I was just going out door knocking in the day. I would cold call absentee owners in the afternoon or in the morning time, and then door knock in the afternoon when people were home, and just like following up with people. My first deal was a guy I followed up with probably 25 times in like a span of a month because he was ghosting me. So it was just like a lot of that, like to get the first couple of deals. And then I joined Investor Fuel not long after that. So I got the deal. I got the money for my second deal that closed. My first deal was like a 13K deal that I split with somebody because I didn't have buyers. My second deal was a 10K deal. So I paid off my credit card debt that I got into because I was flipping like workout equipment during COVID and like using that to kind of fund it. But I also was using credit cards. So I maxed out like 2 of my 1,000 because I don't have credit really because I just came out of high school. So I couldn't like,
right.
I couldn't like get a big credit card. So I had a $1,000 secured line of credit that I had on Wells Fargo, and then another limit for like $2,000 that I got. And so I had both of those. So I had to pay off those. And then when I closed my second deal, that's when I paid the money to join Investor Fuel. And I also bought another coaching program at the same time. So, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. So that was kind of,
I remember because I remember talking to my team because we typically, you know, want people that have more experience, but I was like, they're like, this guy's got potential. He's young. And we're like, okay, let's go. Because honestly, I love, my son's 15, he's young, and I always wish I started earlier. And so, you know, I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad for you that you had the awareness that you needed to surround yourself with other people that were doing bigger things to get to the next level. Cause that's not, you know, the average at the time, probably 21-year-old, right. Isn't thinking of like that at all. They usually have more of a scarcity mindset. It would be pretty common, right? It sounds like a lot of money to just, you know, go to a boondoggle or something like that. So I got to hang out with my buddies for free. You know, but you knew enough to know that your circle, you know, wasn't going to get you to the next level, your current circle at the time.
Yep, it's true. Yeah. And I remember I talked to Luke when I was in the car driving home from knocking doors. I remember I was sitting in the parking lot, and my mom, she has like, it's like a condominium, sitting there in the parking lot, talking to Luke on Zoom. And I'm like trying to sell him on the fact that like, trust me, like I'm going to get there. I'll do the amount of deals that I need in order to be in the gold group. I've already done 3, you know, I'm hustling. I'm out here door knocking and stuff. And he's like, I'm not sure, man. But like, he let me in. So
yeah. Well, glad that worked out. Yeah. So then talk about kind of the awakening. So you were hustling, and I've seen you, because we've had these conversations over the past, you know, year and a half about just this realizing that the goal isn't to hustle, right? And again, you're realizing this all at a young age. So kind of talk about, I'll kind of call it the awakening. So when did you have this awakening? What made you realize? Because there's plenty of people that hustle their way to 20 or 30 deals a year, live a pretty nice lifestyle. They're lean and mean, don't have a lot of overhead. But the problem is some people never realize that this isn't my goal. I don't want to hustle this hard. I want to have a business that I can, you know, not be critical to the day-to-day operations. But talk about just your realization of like that hustle stage is not the goal.
Yeah. I think it was always my vision. I think even when I was getting started, like it's what I wanted. And like, I don't think it was really the thing that held me back the longest was just a lack of not knowing. So like not knowing what I don't know. And so working hard was a problem for me for a while. Like before I got into this, I was lazy. Like I didn't want to do anything. Like I was just a guy that played video games. And so that was a character trait I had to develop, which is work ethic. And so once I finally got that character trait done, then it was about selection. So working hard on the right things. So it's not about like getting out of the hustle. It's like, how do I hustle on the things that are going to give me leverage and buy back time in the future?
Yeah.
And so that's the transition that I had. And that probably started when I started realizing what I should be working on was probably only 6 months ago, 6 or 7 months ago, because I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to get there.
Yeah.
And so I knew I had to build a team, and I knew I needed to get processes and systems, but like, what are the actual steps that I need to spend my hours implementing in order to have that come to reality?
Yep.
And
that's
so
awesome.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
what
one
it.
of the benefits of being in a mastermind like Investor Field, right? Is
Yep.
you've seen all these people, they're like petri dishes, like they've all been testing how to do these things. And
Yep.
not that they've all figured it all out. I mean, nobody's figured it all out. But you can say, hey, I resonate with that person because I like what they've done there, or I like their model. And, just talk to them in the hallway, talk to them at lunch, dinner, whatever, and just say, tell me how you did this. And I mean, I watch you. You're like a student. You're like a sponge, just sucking stuff up, soaking it up. Like, here's how I do that. You're wise beyond your years, my friend. So that's awesome.
Thank you, man. No, and the thing is too, the people that illuminated me and let me see the things that I didn't know was Investor Field. It was the people at Sharper. It was my buddy Austin. It was Joshua. It was these guys that I get to talk to and ask questions to. And, they share with me like, here's the box that I use to figure out the things that I'm good at and don't like, and things that I like that I'm not good at, things that I love that I don't like, and figure out what things I got to get off my plate. And here's the accountability chart. And here's the process map that you got to create. And so like now I got the steps, I can do that. I just need to know what to do. Just tell me what to do. I'll do it.
Yep. Yep. So
Yeah,
talk a little about, I know you said that you have an affinity for, you really kind of enjoy, getting to the next level, which is putting in place the right systems, processes, the right people. And I know you've had some struggles. We all struggle with all those things. Like we try something that doesn't work. Let's pivot and try it again. Right. But just
yeah.
talk about kind of, I guess, your current stage of your business of putting those things in place, and maybe share a little bit about what you've done, a little bit of the impact you've seen so far. And
Yeah.
then after this, we'll kind of get into your vision and where you're going from here.
So what I've done so far, the biggest thing that's probably helped me focus on the right things is just getting clarity on what my organization needs to look like. And knowing that there are certain tasks that have to happen in the business in order to produce the outcome. And I don't necessarily have to be the one to do those tasks. And so you can segment out and create boxes for the different departments of the business, the different activities, and the different roles that are all involved in making it happen. And once you have clarity on what different things need to happen and know that you don't have to be the one to do them, now it's just a game of finding the person who can fit that profile, fit that box, and have them be thriving in that particular position. And so I built all that out. And now I've got somebody who's taken a lot of like the follow-up, and basically I've delegated the entire process up until when I close the deal. So like we qualify, get them ready to go, make sure they're ready to go, make sure ready to make a decision. They have some sort of distress or not. They have some sort of distress. They have like a price that, is not unreasonable. That's like at least market if they have distress. And then I get on the phone with them and I close the deal. And so I've been able to go from like locking up one contract a month to 2 to 3 a week, because I've been able to outsource all that extra time and just focus on the high leverage closing. And then the other part of that is I've been able to delegate the transaction coordinating and the disposition of those deals, bring on a team member that's able to underwrite the deal. And so I can just double down on what I'm good at, which is getting the seller to sign the dotted line.
That's great. And that's where your time is best spent, is doing those activities. And you'll see this as you move along in your business. It's crazy how much administrative burden there is on small businesses. It's just like sometimes you end up spending your whole day on stuff and you look back and you're like, this all had to be done, but this doesn't generate any revenue. Like I just had to do these things. And I think a lot of people feel that around this time of year with all the tax season and stuff like that, is like mounting up and all these like year end things that are happening, but they're not really driving the business. They're just like burden that has to get done by somebody, but some of the stuff's hard to hand off. But
I want to say something to that too, because I heard that same exact thing. And to me, it was like, I shouldn't be doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true, but you still have to do them. So like I had a period where like 2 quarters ago, I was like, I had all this administrative tasks. I was like, oh, this isn't high leverage. Like I just kind of put it on the back burner. And I had so many deals blow up, so many things fall apart because I didn't get the right person to take it over for me and give them the right training to actually has to get done, just doesn't have to get done by you. And
right.
So it doesn't mean that you like put it off and like forget about it. And like, cause that's a mistake that I made. I was like, this isn't high leverage. Like, I don't need to respond to this text right away. I got to close this deal, but that stuff still needs to happen. And it's obvious, but like, it just didn't click for me. I was like, it's whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's crazy. And it seems to be getting worse. Just, things that the government requires or forms or whatever, city governments, state governments, national, it's like all this stuff is just hitting you. It's like, what is this,
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's talk a little bit about your vision for the future. So there's always some people that are like, I want to do 1 million houses a year. And then there's some that are like, I want to get up to this level and use that as a stepping stone for either going into multifamily or something else, or just, God forbid, enjoying your life. Like, hey, if I can get to this level and maintain that, then I'm cool with, spending time on other things. But everybody's different. So what's your vision for where your business is going from here?
Yeah. It's hard for me. So right now we're in a period where like things are pivoting and shifting so much in real estate that
Yeah.
I know my long-term vision is I really enjoy business in general. And I do see myself like wanting to, I just like being challenged and I like doing things that are hard. And so I eventually see myself trying to run like a big company, where we have like hundreds of employees. And like, I feel like that would be really exciting and just like would allow me to grow into a person that I don't see myself, like I couldn't picture myself doing that right now, but that's exciting to me because I know I'd have to change a lot in order to get there. So that's where I see myself like long term. But right now I'm mainly focused on like this next year, which is, okay, where do I need to focus my attention in the marketplace in order to capture the opportunity that's being presented? And in order to do that, I'm pivoting a lot right now towards like novations. I'm doing a lot more novations. I'm doing a lot of wraps. Like I have a property under contract right now that I was going to sell to an investor for like a 20K wholesale. And instead we're finding a homestead buyer. I'm going to sell 70% of the note when I close on the property. I'm going to collect upfront $35,000, then collect $450 a month for the next 10-ish years before the person refinances out or sells the property at 12% interest. And then I'm going to get paid another $20,000. So I just like tripled the lifetime value of that particular client
Yeah.
for that deal just by changing my exit strategy. So I'm thinking more like that,
Yeah.
doing stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
remember even early on, you were splitting everything with, you were like you had somebody you were dispoing with, right? And it's like,
Yep.
whenever I see people like, oh, I'm splitting my deals with everybody because they handle the dispo, or I'm splitting my deals with the person that lends me money, like all they're doing, like you'd be better off just using hard money than splitting your deals 50-50. Because those are some of the low hanging fruits when people come into Investor Fuel or just other circles that I'm in or whatever. It's like, okay, let me show you how to, do what you're already doing right now and make a lot more money just by changing the way you do a few things. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And that's one thing that I got is it served me for a little bit because I think there's merit in like figuring one thing out at a time. I probably could have done it faster where I like didn't split as much, but figuring out how to actually close the deal and follow up with people and then buyers and all that sort of stuff is like a lot all at once. So I was able to dispo like my first couple and then joining Investor Fuel, seeing how other people did their lists and how they sold their deals. And it allowed me to just start selling my own deals. So
Yep.
kept more money in my pocket. But that's for this year, really more like more innovations, more wraps, and just continue to build on my team. Like my first goal is like, I was talking to a guy local here, 60 years old. Like he was telling me about like the lifestyle of the investor. And now he's doing like really the life or like the trajectory of the investor. Like he started off wholesaling and flip. And now he's doing like 1031s of, $1 million projects to, like buying like a $6 million commercial building that spits him off like 20K a month passive and talking about the tax benefit and depreciation and all that sort of stuff. And so he was telling me about how like the stepping stones of like getting from one level to another. And he brought up the Cash Flow Game by Robert Kiyosaki. The first one is getting out the rat race. So that's the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to not have to worry about living expenses and have that money coming in. So that way my parents, like they always used to argue about money. That was one of the things that's one of the things that drives me is I don't have to be in that similar position with my family. And so I want to be able to do that and then take care of my mom with that money as a part of like, I wanted that to be included in my rat race money. Yeah. And then after that, then it's just a game of like, how do I challenge myself? How do I push myself? How do I grow? Because if you're not growing, you're dying. And, that's what makes me happy. So,
well, you said that several times and I'm the same way. Like I love the challenge. I love to build or fix stuff. And when you start to maintain, it gets a little boring. And so I think we have to keep pushing ourselves. I mean, everybody's a little bit different, but I think most people would identify with that as like, I like to build something or fix something, or the growth phase is always exciting. And then when it gets to a point to where it's kind of maintaining, then it's like, okay, well, what's the next challenge? Like, where do I go from here? It's just like a stair step of your life. It's like, hey, I got, what this got me here, but it's not going to get me to the next level, either financially or, what brings me the most joy. And so I got to find whatever that next thing is. And so that's awesome, man. So it's been amazing watching you grow. And I know you've got a long ways to go from here. It's been awesome having you in Investor Fuel. Would you mind sharing? You've been in for probably like a year and a half or so now, roughly, or?
Yeah.
Would you mind just share
one more thing?
Okay. Would you mind just sharing your experience as being a member of Investor Fuel?
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing about Investor Fuel, I was looking at maybe joining Investor Fuel and Collective Genius, both. And Investor Fuel, I've been super happy with because the people there, the culture that is created is just so giving. Like everybody is just so open and willing to share. And it's just very much like you're hanging out with buddies who are on the same track as you. And so like Jim Rohn talks about the 5 people you spend the most time with. I think the caveat for that is like, you have to enjoy the 5 people you spend the most time with too. And you want to be with people you enjoy being around, but also are going to raise and push you to the next level. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like I really got that with Investor Fuel, with like meeting some of the people that I met there. And like, it's just nice to be able to like fly out and like see everybody and be like, hey, what's up, man? Like, how's business? How's everything? And so, that, and then the tactics, like just the tactical stuff that helped me put dollars in my pocket, just bottom line, money in the bank. Like I made more money this year than I don't know. Like it's just crazy. I come from being a pool boy. Like I made $7,000 when I was cleaning pools, like for the whole year. So, just the knowledge, having the knowledge and then executing on the knowledge, it's kind of nuts.
Yeah. So, thank you for that. And the great thing about where you're at in your business is we have people in the group that are doing up to 800 deals a year. So like you'll, not that you're not going to be friends, but as your business starts to trend up, it's like, okay, well, now I need to surround myself with these people in the group a little bit more. And you've got like, several phases of as your business grows of who you are able to surround yourself with or align with in the group to take it to the next level. So you got, lots of opportunity ahead for sure.
Yeah. So excited, dude.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch you grow. Hey, if folks want to connect with you, Justice, where do they go to learn more about you?
So I've been posting on my Instagram, just reels, TikToks of like me closing deals and different things. It's Justice Soto _ is my Instagram, and DM me and, I'll happy to help however I can if you're trying to get a deal or anything like that.
Yeah. Cool. And if you're in the Orlando area, look you up because you might be some opportunities to work together, right?
100%. I'll buy your deal all day long.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's exciting to watch you grow, my friend. And my son has probably never watched one of my podcasts before, but I'm going to like, hey man, you got to watch this one. So hopefully we get some, I think I'm going to encourage a lot of, there's a lot of people that are, in their 30s, 40s, 50s that should be listening to you and realizing that, they say that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago and the second best time is today. Like, so don't be, like, if you whatever you need to do, like get started if you haven't gotten started yet. But anyway, it's encouraging and it's exciting to watch you grow. And I appreciate you a bunch, my friend.
Thank you.
Yep. Everybody, hey, thanks for joining us today. Hope you got some good value out of that. If you know anybody that should see this episode, please share it with them. And if you have not talked to us yet, if you're a professional investor actively doing deals every single month, and you have not talked to us about Investor Fuel, please go to investorfuel.com to learn more. You can schedule a call with us and we'll see if it's a fit for you. We do have, as of the time of recording this, late January, we have our next event coming up in Scottsdale, Arizona. Robert Kiyosaki is going to be there speaking. And even aside from that, we have just an amazing community of about 200 real estate investors that are giving and sharing a lot of what we talked about today. That's really the culture that we build, people just helping and sharing with each other to get to the next level. So go to investorfuel.com to learn more, and we'll see you on the next show. Take care. Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.